What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach Show. As you guys can see here, you know who? Come on. As you guys can see here, how do I even describe this guy? I don't need Alvin Boogie Williams. You guys should know that he is a Mike Roach faithful on the Mike Roach Show. So you know what? We got to show a lot of love to former Toronto Raptor and now current NBA analyst for Sportsnet and the Toronto Raptors, Alvin Williams. My guy, Alvin, what's going on, my man? What's happening?
What's up, brother? Long time, man. It's a long time. I haven't seen you that much this year, man. You had me
I
on about
know.
two times I've been a guest, man. I told you gotta call me, dog. Happy to be here, dog. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you, man. I always appreciate you. Everything's all right, though, brother. How's everything?
Everything's going well, man. I can't complain. Season winding down, so
Mm-hmm.
it's bittersweet. You get a little break, but at the end of the day, I love this game so much. I'm excited about this team. I enjoy covering the team, being a part of, Sportsnet and the Raptors organization. So it's bittersweet, but we're gonna keep pushing. It seems like it's gonna be extended play this year. It seems like it's gonna
Yeah.
be a postseason for the Raptors. So I'm excited.
Now, Alvin, I don't think I've had you on the show since around November. And that was probably around 20 games, or I don't even know if it was 20 games at that point. But now we're at the 60 game mark in the season. November was in the past compared to what you saw then and now in March. What have you learned about this team?
It's still tough. You learned take that back. You've learned a few things. You learned that they have a lot of fight. They have a lot
Mhm.
of fight in them. They've overcome a lot of adversity when it comes to injuries, um, key injuries, and some of the things that they had to endure to get to this point, and still being fifth in the East, where you still feel like it still is that feeling like the East is wide open. I think Detroit is really doing a good job of solidifying that they're a serious team, and New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics are a surprise. When you talk about the Raptors, though, if they can get healthy again with Jakob Poeltl, I still believe the man in the middle, when he's healthy and he's in a lineup, he provides something that it's not a lot of teams in the NBA have. When you have that big who can be a connector, you have that big who can defend the paint and defend the rim, and also he has shot making ability. He helps with your rebounding, and he also brings versatility to your lineup. He strengthens the bench because you have Sandro who can go to the bench. You have CMB that can go to the bench and come in the game, and you just have different lineups. So we still haven't. I still don't think we've seen the best version of the Toronto Raptors, and also
Mhm.
RJ Barrett. Once he continues to get 100%, he's going to be that other piece where you have somebody driving downhill, you have somebody that can make plays, you have another physical present, somebody that can get to the foul line. You want him to shoot a higher free throw percentage, but he still could put pressure on teams. So I think when you have your entire lineup and your entire roster healthy and ready to go, a lot of times these teams aren't going to be ready for that because we haven't seen it throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how many people can tell, but I can. And when you look at RJ, he still looks a bit hobbled. Like he's running, and I could tell he's fighting through it, but he still looks a little gimpy at times. He's not 100% healthy. But I do want to ask you this. Out of all the playoff teams right now, currently the Raptors have the worst record against the top teams at the top of the standings in the league, East or West. Alvin, why can't we beat some of the top teams here?
I mean, sometimes it's the makeup of the team, sometimes it's so many things, but in today's game, man, it's so hard to put a finger on it because the lineups aren't the lineups now are fluid. You have some
Mm,
games where guys are sitting out, you have some games where it's load management. So, back in the day, there was a time where you pretty much had a team, you had a roster, and those guys were playing, playing, playing. But now it's not like that. You have time minute restrictions. You have so many things that really they play a part in the construction of a lineup and day to day. Sometimes you're getting ready for a game and the star guy is out, the main guy is out right before tip off. So it's
mhm.
hard to really say that the Raptors can't beat a top team. You don't know where it's at in the schedule, but optically it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good that the Raptors have a below 500 record. But then guess what? And my partner Matt Devlin always make a point. Sometimes when that stat comes out, sometimes those teams are a little above 500, but they aren't 500 right then and there. So again, the team can go be what 10-2 in week 1 or week 3, and then they could be 10-8 in week 4, and it just goes up and down. So those stats, I wouldn't get so hung up in those stats. I just like to see if they're playing consistent basketball. You have a team. I remember when they went out on the West Coast, their last West Coast trip, and they had an outstanding record. I think they were 4-1 or 5-1 or something like that after
Yeah.
losing the first game to the Lakers, and they just went on the tear. So again, I don't get too wrapped up in those games and the record against certain teams. It's about who's playing the best basketball at the end of the season at the right time. And that's what you want if you're a Raptors fan, if you're a Raptors player and a coach. You want to continue to build and get healthy and play your best basketball no matter what you did in the previous games.
Now, Alvin, I feel like you're probably the best person that I can ask this question to, because as a guy who was the starting point guard on a very dangerous Raptors team who almost made their way to the Eastern Conference Final, but how do you get a team to play a full 48 minutes? And I don't know if I'm wording that correctly, just because, I try to tell people all the time, before I started actually working at Scotiabank Arena for all these years, it's different on television. When you get when you actually next to these guys and you stand next to these guys, you see how big they are, how fast they are. It's like they're not even human.
Yeah.
And so I know I say, how do you play a full 48 minutes? But it's just like, if people really knew how big and fast these guys actually are. How do you answer that question? I don't know.
So are you asking from the performance standpoint, like when teams play up and down and the runs and all of those things, or you
Yeah,
just
because sometimes you'll see teams, they'll give you a good 36, but when it's closing time, or when it's maybe a bad second quarter or a bad third quarter, you know what I mean? So how do you get the full 48 minutes out of them?
Oh, you get the full 48 minutes. It's just the fact that it's another team on the other side that's playing a full 48 minutes. So if you're out there by yourself, hey, it looks good. You're shadow boxing, but till somebody throw a hook or a counter, yeah, you got
That's
to make
true.
some adjustments. So
Yeah.
you just never know how a game is going to go. And a lot of times, and we highlight the offense. And that's the unfortunate thing, because as a kid, as a fan, as the people watching the game, the offense is the sexy part. That's the part
Mhm.
that's the most attractive part, but that's the most inconsistent part. You can have a Steph Curry, who's the best shooter that we've seen, and he can go 0 for 10. And then he can go 1 for 11, and then he can go 5 for 5. Like, you just never know. But defensively is when you have a team that's really bought in, and the coach has the buy-in, and they're playing for one another. That's where you start on that defensive end, and you start on that effort. That effort part is very challenging, because today the game is not as physical, but it's so much faster. And when you got
Mhm.
guys that's running around and offensively, just start there, and they're running, they're moving, they're screening, they're slipping the screens, they're doing dribble handoffs, they're doing all of these things, all of these different actions. And then you have defense that has to chase that around. That's very grueling for 48 minutes. And it's difficult. So now when you go to your bench and try to get the same production or the same input or the same output with the energy, it's like, all right, it could be a hit or miss, but it has to start with the culture of your team. And the team is going to go up and down. When I used to play for a few years, we always struggled coming into the second half. After halftime, I don't know what would happen, but we would start out slow. I remember the crowd used to boo us as soon as we it just would go wrong. And then we would pick it up midway through the third quarter, then the fourth quarter, and sometimes you're out of the game by time.
Mhm.
So it's very challenging. 48 minutes at the pace that these young men are playing at right now is very challenging. But the thing about it is, it's the mindset, and it's making sure that they're playing with that effort and that energy, and then also always being focused in on the game plan. The game plan has to change sometimes. Sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes you have to counter, or sometimes you have to stick with what's going on. But again, the game is fluid, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be runs. But the biggest thing is you have an opponent on the other side that's also making adjustments. That's also picking it up. That's also changing their philosophy at times. So it's very challenging. But at the same time, man, the 48 minutes is almost impossible to play a full game, 48 minutes, physically and mentally.
I was going to save this question for a bit later, but I think I'm going to ask you now because you mentioned the word mindset, right?
Hmm.
What did you learn about the Raptors team? And you can talk about Detroit as well, and Detroit when they played each other.
Man, you 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 really don't know, man. Honestly, Mike, the season is so long, and one game is not going to tell you anything. It's just entertainment for that moment. But you do sometimes you can see something within a team, but it's over time. It's repetition. Like how many times will a team respond? How many times will a team get down and they battle back? How many times does a team do? You see the trend. You see the chart and you see it going up. What they do. Sometimes it levels off. Sometimes it drop. So it's hard to say what a team is going to from one game. But what I will say is I believe the Raptors can compete with anyone. You look at a Detroit Pistons team, and they are a physical team. They have an MVP candidate in Cade Cunningham, and they have a bench. They have a coaching staff and Coach Bickerstaff. They have my young buck Jared Jack on that bench. I've got my
Mhm.
homeboy from Philly, Pooh Allen on that bench. They got Sidney Lowe. They got experienced coaches. They're in the running. They're making a great case for a successful team, a championship team this year. But the Raptors, I think, with the Raptors, I would love the Raptors to be able to match their physicality. I would love the Raptors to be able to play a versatile style of game, which they do. They can play that and continue to get better. The Raptors aren't on the same trajectory as the Raptors. I mean the Pistons. So I think
Mhm.
the Raptors have to keep staying course. And again, to answer your question, I don't know what I can tell from that one game, but over the season, I can tell that the Raptors are on the right path, and I can also tell that the Pistons are serious.
Now, you've talked about offense a little bit before. What have you thought about the Raptors offense this season? They've been much better in terms of statistics defensively, but they do have some lapses on and off on the offensive side. Do you think they can do any adjustments there that will improve their half court offense?
I think with them being healthy, it helps out a lot. I think,
Mhm.
starting out with the point guard, Emmanuel quickly, him coming into this season, really having to make an adjustment. Emmanuel quickly is a score first point guard who's excellent at getting his offense, getting his shot off the pick and rolls, getting his shot off the dribble handoffs, getting his shot off in transition, being able to break his man down. But now you got somebody like Brandon Ingram that has to get the ball. And he has to play off the ball a little bit. I'm talking about quickly. So now he's making those adjustments as a point guard. When to go for my offense, when to set the table for everyone else, when am I going to play off the ball when Scotty is making things happen? Now I'm playing alongside of Jamal Shed. So if you look at anybody on this roster, I think quickly had to make the biggest adjustment.
Yeah.
And now that that's happening, I think he's feeling more and more comfortable. He's feeling more, confident in that point guard position. But again, without a Jakob Pertl, that big that can set the screens, he's a connector. When I say the connector, he's a guy that you get the ball up top, he can swing it, he can go and chase it with a setting screen. He can make sure everything is flowing through him at the high post. So there's a lot of things that he can do to alleviate some of the pressure off of the other offensive players. But again, these guys offensively, I think they're really finding their way and their rhythm amongst each other once they are healthy. You can space it out a bit. You have some shooting when you bring Sandro in the game from a pick and pop type of guy. So offensively, as I alluded to the last question you asked about Detroit and well keeping a 48-minute game, offense is going to go up and down. You just want to make
Yeah.
sure you get in your spots. You want to get the right shots, the proper shots within your offense. And these are NBA players. If they get these opportunities over and over, they will be successful. They will execute these opportunities. But offensively, the Raptors, they're not the strongest offensive unit, but I think they have a lot of versatility and they have potential to be very dangerous once they play more of a healthy roster more consistently.
What do you make to the Raptors dropping those big double digit leads in the fourth quarter?
Ah, that
Because
stinks.
it seems like the Raptors can compete. Like they
Hmm.
can go out there, but holding that lead, right? And being able to close that fourth quarter.
Yeah, yeah. That's disheartening. That those are elements right there where you don't feel like a lead is safe. But again, I think once the guys get on the same page, and not even making an excuse. But when you're talking about a team and continuity and people knowing who's supposed to take the shot, where the shot is going to come from at the end. But again, you got to get stops. You got to take care when you're closing games. You got to do three essential things. You got to get stops. You got to take care of the basketball, and you got to rebound. Right? Rebounding is part of getting stops. So you got to complete the play. You can't give second and third opportunities. You can't give You can't give more opportunities by turning the ball over, because you're giving the other team opportunities to score, and you're also taking opportunities away from you to score. So now, if you're not taking care of the basketball, that's going to hurt you, and that's going to allow teams to get their momentum, to get their rhythm, get your team out of it, get the crowd out of it. So many things comes from turnovers, and then you got to make sure you rebound the ball. You got to rebound the ball. You have to rebound. You have to be physical. And those are the same things that hold true in the postseason. The postseason play is very similar. Every possession, it counts. It really counts. So you have to be deliberate when you're playing these games. You have to be mindful. And you always have to be locked in. The playoffs is nothing but who's going to execute the best and who's going to execute the hardest more consistently. Who's going to do it throughout the game? Who's not going to have these lapses? And we can look back when the Raptors were down a couple games, and they would battle and fight back and press, get themselves back in the game and win some games that they shouldn't have won, or put themselves in a position to win after being down double digits. So today's NBA, no lead is safe because there's so many possessions and the game is so up tempo, and the 3-point shot is so instrumental in offenses. No lead is safe. So you really have to be deliberate. And you talk about the Raptors, is guys making sure they're in a position and they're becoming accustomed to these moments of the game. Some guys are really new. CMB's new to this. Jamal Shed, from a degree, this is second year, but he's in the games at the end of games where this team has potential, and they got expectations to win these games. So it's a different type of pressure. Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, these are still young guys that you have to rely on to make plays and do things. So again, it is concerning, but that's something that can be fixed. And you're only going to fix it through going through the exercise and going through the actual situations.
How important is it to start in whatever role you have?
It's essential. That's it. Then more importantly is for a coach to be able to get a player to believe in that. Every player wants to do what they want to do. Like, if I'm a shooter, let me shoot. Let me shoot. But guess what? I might need you to be a defensive guy. And when the shot comes, be ready to knock it down. And if a coach needs you to be a guy that's going to go out there and rebound, or a coach needs you to do whatever, you have to star in your role. And what you have to do, you have to watch a lot of film. You have to work on those aspects of the game. And these players today are so fortunate now because you have a gang of coaches that can give you support. You can get individual training pretty much because you have an access of coaches. You have so many people that can give support. So if a coach is telling you, we want you to work on one dribble pull-ups, or we want you to work on three-pointers from the corner, or we want you to do this, you have coaches that can watch the film, break the film down with you, and they can actually go through the exercise with you while you're not even in practice. So you get the opportunity to get your rhythm through the coaching staff, because again, there's so many coaches, but it's essential. It's nothing more important than you getting a player to believe, and a player really truly believing and starring in his role. And you know who told me that? Vince Carter told me that. That was something that he said he had to do once he left from being a superstar to being a guy that was, still a very good player, and then a role player. He said, Al, all I concentrated on later in my career was being a star in my role. That's whether I was being a mentor in a locker room, or if I'm out there and they need me to play. So being a star in their role is critical.
Now, when you talk about being a star in your role and getting you to believe, sometimes I think about the coach, but I say that to say this, right? Because I saw some video come out, was it today or yesterday, with Luka Doncic and JJ Redick, and they're going at it, right? And so the question I want to ask is, it's kind of a two-part question. First of all, I want to ask you, do players have to like you as a coach? That's the first part of the question. Second part of the question is, do we overdo it when it comes to coaching? Is coaching, like, I understand it's essential, it's very important, but is it more about the players, or does coaching matter that much?
Yeah, coaches matter. The coaching matter, but you got different levels of coaching. You got your grassroots coaching, you got your college coaching, well, pro coaching now. But to your point about the NBA, it's essential. But coaching now at this level, the NBA level, the professional level, is a lot more managing. You have to manage egos. You have to manage
Mm.
expectations. You have to manage relationships. You have to manage the front office. You have to do so many of these things, and you have to implement your X's and O's. I think today's athlete, they're more they're more of being critical thinkers when they're out there on the floor, when they're in that locker room. They question a lot. You can't come in there as a coach being unprepared. These coaches, these players are really looking at you, and players have a lot of leverage depending on their contract, depending on who they're putting in the seats. So there's a dynamic there between players and coaches. But if you're a coach, any coach out there, I urge you to always be prepared and just also foster those relationships. These players are a lot younger. To
Mhm.
me, they're more sensitive, and I'm not saying sensitive in a way where it's a negative way when it comes down to that. I just think they're more aware of what's going on, and they're listening to what's going on. There's so much stuff out there social media wise. There's so many things, so much information. So when you are bombarded with all of this information and all of these things around you, sometimes it can affect how you go to work every day. So I think coaches have to be, the coaching job is a lot different than it used to be because the individual that they're coaching is a lot different. But I don't think you can overdo coaching. I think it is something where coaches should believe in their players, but they have to manage these guys. Every great player wants to be coached, and every great player and every player that want to be great, they want to be pushed. So I don't
Mhm.
think I don't think you compromise those things as a coach. I look at Darko Rajakovic. I think to me, his superpower right now is his ability to pour into the players.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't compromise that. He's always teaching. He's always, he's in their faces. I don't know what practices look like, but it seems like he's in their face. He's pouring into them and he's letting them know. And he's being deliberate when it comes to that. He's a player development guy at heart, but also his X's and O's and his managerial skills are getting much better as well.
Now, obviously, Alvin, you've been around the game. I know you've done some coaching, player, scouting. Have you learned anything about the game from being in broadcasting?
Yeah, actually, I've learned back to the film sessions, back to really looking at the game in a lens where it's not just for entertainment. It's really trying to break it down a bit, but also from the broadcasting standpoint, it's a form of entertainment. Like I've never looked at it as a player, as an entertainer. And some people have. Some of your great players, I'm going out there to put on a show. Like Vince Carter is one of those guys. I want to put on a show. I ain't have too much in my game that could put on a show. It's basic, but the Magic Johnsons and the Jordans and like these guys that people are coming in to see, they're putting on a show. And then what I'm
Mhm.
learning now is when I'm calling the game, sometimes it's entertainment based. It's entertainment based. Sometimes I look at certain calls that are being made, and just the way the game is played. The game is so different, and it's played in such a way that when I was playing, it's totally different. The approach is different. The speed of the game is different. The possessions are different. The style of play is different. So I'm learning that pretty much on the fly, and it's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. But the game, as a whole, is still very entertaining. Sometimes I got to wrap my mind around that, not being a grumpy old head on the couch saying, "What the hell are they doing, shooting so many threes, and why they're not doing this?"
Yeah.
Because I know the importance of what the coaches and what the team, what their main objective is, and what they're trying to do now. So I've learned a lot being on the broadcasting side.
Okay, so one more thing I'm gonna ask you before we get to some stuff around the NBA, and that is around one Scotty Barnes. And we see everything that he does from a defensive standpoint, rebounding, passing, getting out into transition, whatever the case may be. But I want to specifically ask you about his offensive ability in the half court set. Do you think that Scotty should be a bit more aggressive offensively? Because sometimes I see him catch the ball, say around the free throw line, and I'm looking for just a face up and attack the basket, especially when the defense is not really being aggressive. But do you think he attacks the paint enough and he's aggressive enough offensively?
Yep, I do. Because it's interesting, and I say this because when you see somebody like Scotty, we're gonna be like, man, he needs to take the shot. Man, he got to use his size. Man, he needs to use his athleticism. But what we don't see in Scotty, how his brain is working. Scotty is a facilitator at heart. So when Scotty catches the basketball, he's looking 2, 3, 4 plays ahead, trying to find the right pass, making the right play. He's not just always in attack mode. And his gift is being able to do that. It's like a LeBron effect. When we always would say about LeBron James, oh man, I can't believe he passed up that shot. LeBron James could do this at any time he wants. But LeBron is about making the right play. Scotty's about making the right play. It's just now Scotty is young. And when he first came in the league, this is 5th year, we're seeing him be more aggressive. We're seeing him go for his own offense. We see the pull up, the mid range, the post ups, but we also still seeing the dimes. He's throwing darts. He's making plays happen. So he's finding a very nice balance. And at this point of his career, he's doing everything that's involving winning. And I think, again, the more and more he plays and the more of these situations, when he gets into the postseason play and these teams are locking in on him and things like that, he's going to make more adjustments. Because what I've seen, he's very intelligent on the basketball floor. He understands the plays. He understands where his opportunities are. He's getting others involved. So offensively, man, I'm not worried about that. I know that's going to come. All of those things are going to come. But what he's a player that's a facilitator first, that can score the basketball when need be. So I like his balance. I like what he has. And again, as we've seen over the time, his 3-point shot's gotten better. His scoring the ball has gotten better. So we know he's putting the work in to become a better and all-around offensive scorer. Offensively, he has an aspect that you can't teach, and that's the field. That's the passing. You can't teach players how to pass and how to make reads. Over time, they can get better at it. But what Scotty has, he has it now. You can teach a player how to draw a foul, how to get his 3-point shot up, how to go in the post. You can teach players that, right? So what Scotty's doing, I think he's right on pace to continue to be an excellent player, outstanding player, an all NBA player, and maybe one day in this league, an MVP type of player, because you know what he does? He plays on both sides of the basketball at a very high level.
All right, we're going to move on to a few questions around the NBA before we get out of here. And the first team I'm going to ask you about is one that you already touched on. Are the Detroit Pistons for real, Alvin?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think when you got somebody like a Cade Cunningham, you talk about Scotty Barnes, high school teammates together. But Cade Cunningham, man, he continues to improve as well. Like, had some conversations off season about top point guards, and his name would come up. His name wouldn't be in there. But it's no doubt about it. What he's doing at this juncture of the game, that he's one of the top, not just point guards, players in the game, and he's leading that charge. And I love the fact when you saw the little rumble between Detroit and Charlotte, I like the fact that he was calming people down. He wasn't igniting any negative energy. He wasn't, promoting anything, instigating anything. He was trying to get his team to focus on a bigger picture. And that's about winning. He's a serious dude. And then you take everybody else around him, from the Thompson twin to Tobias Harris to Jalen Duren to Isaiah Stewart to Duncan Robinson. You got Karis LeVert. You got all these pieces that's coming in playing their role. They only got 14 losses, I want to say, this year. I think they got the best record in the NBA, and they play physical defense. They're taking the identity of a Coach Bickerstaff and implementing that. Coach Bickerstaff did similar things when he was in Cleveland. And he's a very good coach, and he's proven that. So I think they're for real, and this could be a season for them. They had their lumps against New York last year, and they lost in Game 6. Jalen Brunson with the outstanding last second shot, but that's the learning piece, and I think they're only going to get better. So if they can stay healthy, get Isaiah Stewart back,
beef stew.
Yeah, if they can get him back, then that's going to be another big time part. But again, they've proven that they can win throughout the season with starters out the game. They just beat Cleveland. Although Cleveland didn't have Mitchell or Harden, they went in overtime. Cade Cunningham fouled out, and guys came in there and played big time minutes, man. So that team holistically is doing a good job. So I think they are for real, to answer your question.
Now I got to add on to that question for just a second, because you brought something up in regards to Charlotte and that incident that happened in Charlotte. So I got to ask you a question. Is there anybody you've been afraid of in the NBA. Like, how do you separate a real tough guy who's not just playing around here? That's just who he is. Like, you played with Oak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Oak is looked at one of those guys who that was just him. It wasn't performative in any way.
Right.
So when you're on the court, how do you know when somebody's just performative compared to if they're a real? They're about
So,
that life.
so for anyone who's not aware, when you go through the tunnel, everybody go through the opposite tunnel. They go in different directions. But when you come back, the arena is usually a circle. So you come back, you're going to see guys. The locker room here, the locker room here. You gotta go to the bus. Everybody's there. So if it's really real, it's all opportunity back there. No cameras, no nothing. Then I've seen people go to locker rooms. I've seen people wait outside there. So I've seen that. But again, it's easier to put on a show when you really don't have to perform. Like you don't really have to. Like it's easy. Like, but as soon as you have to perform, now you're probably a little skeptical, and you have some of those things. But there's some players, man, for sure. I played with some players. I played against some players. I've never been scared because I've never brought that type of energy. And also, I had some monsters behind me as a guard. I had some monsters behind me, so it wasn't much going down if anything was going to happen to me. And they loved me, and I loved them back. But they loved me, and they weren't going to let nothing happen to me. So I had like the big brothers, so I was cool. But yeah, you talk somebody like Beef Stew. That's what they call him, Beef Stew, or Isaiah Stewart, whatever. He looks like he's for real. He looks like he's for real. He's with all the smoke. But again, you're here to play basketball. I was listening to a story today, right? Oh my God, it's going to kill me. It's going to kill me, man. Because I gotta know it. I gotta know his name. Oh, I'm messing up. I messed up the story, but he's telling the story. Oh my goodness, man. He was the player that allowed players to come in from the NBA from high school. What's his name, man?
He came into the NBA from high school?
Yeah, he like the hardship rule. He was one of the guys. I forgot his name, man. It's this is embarrassing because he's legendary. He set rules. He set very good player. But he was telling a story that he was playing against Wilt Chamberlain, and Wilt Chamberlain and they was going. I forgot how many games in a row that they were trying to win, and he was going off. And he said Wilt Chamberlain told one of his teammates to to knock him out. And the teammate came in, it knocked him out. His teammate came in, Walt Hazard came in and said, I got your back. He jumped over the guy's back. And at that time, he said they had the shot clocks were on the floor. They weren't on top of the basket. He grabbed the shot clock and bust my main man upside the head and knocked him out. So when you talk about different styles of games and real dudes that are really about that life, that's a whole nother beast. So a lot of these guys, man, that little fighting right there, that ain't gonna do nothing, man.
Oh man. Now, same question I have for you in the West, the San Antonio Spurs. How good can they be? I mean, I think we expected them to be good. I don't think we expected them to be this good.
Yeah, I think they have that OKC effect where they just got good. You saw the potential, but when you talk about Wembanyama, man, he's somebody that leads the charge mentality. That's all you keep hearing about is his mentality. His approach to the game is dead serious. And I saw something again today that was comparing it kind of to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, cool dude, nice dude, but when he's out there on the court, is no friends. His only friends is his teammates. So he brings that approach. And then with their guard play, I love their guard play. When you talk about the versatility, the athleticism, the shot making ability, and they have a good mixture of experienced players and they have the young players. So I think what they're doing, their coaching staff again is outstanding. It's interesting. You talked about the importance of coaching, but we talked about Detroit and we talked about the Spurs. We're talking about the Spurs. Their coaching is outstanding, man. Their coaching is outstanding, and I think they're serious as well. Now, again, with the West, it's going to be very challenging, but they're showing being second in the West, right behind OKC. They just had their 11th game win streak broken by the Knicks, who's another tough team in that garden. But I think the Spurs, they maybe 1 to 2 years, so they go through the lumps of the playoffs. But If not, this team seems mature enough when you have De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, and you have Wemby, who's a mature young player. You just never know, but they're on the right path, and they're for real too.
All right, Alvin, last question here. The Rookie of the Year race looks right now like it's between Cooper Flag, Con Knipple. Which way are you leaning here?
Man, I mean, I think when you start getting giving these words out, it's all about the accolades and the accomplishments, and that's what happens. Both teams are struggling, and that's just what you got now. When you're a top player, a top pick going to one of the worst teams, that's what happened. But Dallas, they're not performing, well, they haven't performed, but they made some changes throughout the year due to injuries and trades with AD. But Cooper Flag is outstanding. Con Knipple is really, I think he's taken the league by surprise with his consistency. And now you see the Charlotte Hornets really playing some good basketball. We got a chance to see that in Toronto because they push the Raptors to the limit every time they get on the floor. So we've seen how good this team can be at moments. But Con Knipple right now has the nod, have the nod for me because of his consistency, his ability to, the way this game is played. I like what he's doing for this Charlotte Hornets team, and I think he's the biggest surprise, or one of the biggest surprise. But I know you didn't ask this question, but I still like VJ Edgecombe. I like his trajectory. I like the way he's going. But with those two players, I think Con Knipple right now would get the edge for me.
All right, Alvin. What did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
Man, nothing, man. This is your show. It's your show. Whatever you wanted to ask me, whatever, I'm here for you, dog.
All right, man. I'm looking to see you very soon. Actually, you're going to be at the Knicks game. Is that a Sportsnet game?
Yes, it is. I'll be there tomorrow. Oh,
I'll be there as well.
I don't know when is this show. We record, is this live or?
This is going to be out tonight.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay,
I'll be
perfect.
There tomorrow to see those Knicks.
Good. So anybody who's watching, you guys know that I do post games for all of these Raptors games. I will be in attendance at Scotiabank Arena for the Knicks game. So if I give you that post game, it'll be slightly later. Okay, just make sure you remember that. But once again, thank you to former Toronto Raptor and current NBA analyst for Sportsnet, my guy, Alvin Boogie Williams. Always appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem.